Hmm. Like they walk in the room and wait,
Well, that
and like
one that
walk
made the
by you.
cat throw up, probably. Did you not see that video of the dog making the cat throw up with his fart?
I've seen the one where like the dog like runs up and farts, and the cat's just like,
No, no, it's just a breath. Well, I think you're thinking of the same one, but the dog doesn't run up and fart. It's just like sitting in the middle of the floor uncomfortably, and it farts, and then the cat throws up.
ugh, that's gross.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hard Reset, a Cold North production. I'm the Law Morris. Joining me as usual, gorgeous Ben Reynolds.
Meow.
And the ever effervescent Andrew Etchen.
Giggity giggity.
It's some alliteration there with the sounds of his name.
Yes. Now you're listening to number 78, the one where we're going to talk about some of the biggest missteps in gaming history. Now, as per usual, we're going to get started with some quick discussion on what we've been playing this week. Andrew, I want to know what you've been playing this week.
I beat Subnautica.
You finished it.
I finally finished it. I got the platinum. It's done. I don't think I will ever pick it up again.
Thank God we don't have to hear about it anymore.
You got the platinum?
Yeah.
How many hours did you put into that game?
I should look at my save, but it's probably around like 40 plus hours in like that one play. It was a great ending. It was super satisfying, making my rocket, blasting off. And then I'm definitely going to download Resident Evil 2, so it seems like that ended in the perfect amount of time.
There you go. It sounds like your timing lined up perfectly. Now, Subnautica officially came out just over a year ago. This week, actually. I think a year ago this week. How do you think it stacks up as far as like Game of the Year contender for 2018? I know we already discussed that ad nauseum.
Yeah, I think it's a game not many people have played, but it's a game that, like, in its genre, it stands like above any other survival game I've ever played. Like any game that involves resource gathering, exploration, and like combat, and like trying to and like actually having a story and everything. Like the game definitely, stands out above like anything else I've played.
All right.
Just pretty impressive.
Nice. So, out of 10, what are you going to give it?
I would definitely give it like a 10 out of 10.
10
like
out of 10.
Like, at least in my book, like atmospherically very engaging. Every new area that you would come to felt new and scary. Like every second of that game felt unknown and scary as you went through it.
Last time,
the music that they had in it, the story that they sort of speckled throughout it that teaches you what's going on, and the way that they've done like these audio logs and logs of, for creatures. The game is seriously, like, even for people that probably aren't into like survival and resource gathering and like base building games, it combines like every single element of all those games and just makes them like perfect.
The last time I asked you on this show to rate a game out of 10 and you said 10 was God of War. Are you telling me that this is on par with God of War?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a totally different
experience.
Yeah, it's an absolutely completely different experience, but it's also
it's
like,
there.
You can play it many different times. You can do hardcore modes and things. I mean, I played freedom mode, which was basically the game just without hunger and water level, or like hunger and thirst levels. So instead you just had air and health, which I thought made the game a lot more approachable. And I was able to have a lot of fun. And I mean, the thing that really makes that game gripping is that like every single time I would leave my base and get in my little submarine and start to go explore somewhere, I was like, I wonder if this will be the last time I come back. Just
wow.
kind of think, like, what if something eats me while I'm out there? Granted, I would save, so if it did happen, I would reload.
Yeah.
But I always thought, like, what am I going to find this time?
Wow. So I didn't know that there were like food and water mechanics, and it just reminds me of that Simpsons episode where they're adrift at sea and Homer says, water, water everywhere. Let's all have a drink. And so like I just don't get why they would why you would need to have a thirst meter, because just drink some of the water you're in. Ben, tell me what you've been playing this week.
I've been drinking urine.
Oh, okay.
Because you just said the water urine.
Oh, the drinks the water urine. All right, Ben, how about you tell me for real what you've been playing this week?
NBA 2K19.
Which console?
360. Or, I mean, 1.
I was like, wow, I knew you bought 18 on both PS4 and Switch, but that's a departure.
Begins again.
So, and
I had 18 on Xbox One also.
You had 18 on all three?
No, I didn't have it on PS4.
Oh, okay. Why do you buy those games on Xbox now, Billy?
Yeah, Billy and I game share on Xbox.
Oh, gotcha. So, did you bought that one at launch, right?
No.
Oh, so you just got it?
Yeah.
How do you like it?
It's pretty sweet. After you get used to it, because now there's a shot meter on layups and stuff too, even, which takes a second to get used to, but after you get used to that, it's very solid gameplay.
Nice. How does it compare to previous years? Because we all know 2K peaked with 14, so.
I mean, I enjoy it. I like that in the single player mode I can skip the movies because they're really annoying. Last year's you couldn't do that, so that's definitely an appreciated
update
change. Yeah.
All right, that's pretty interesting. Interesting. And I personally felt like playing something retro this week, so I decided to play a game that I've never played before, and it's pretty widely regarded as one of the best games on the Super Nintendo, one of the best Mario games. I played for the first time ever Super Mario World, and I gotta say, it's an unpopular
Did you play it on
thing.
Switch?
No, I actually played it on DS, 3DS.
You can play it on Switch though, can't you?
Super Mario World, not yet.
Damn.
We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but no, but you can play it on. It's on the Super NES Classic. It's on the Virtual Console on 3DS and 2DS, but it's not on Switch. But it's pretty unpopular opinion, but it's not great. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the obsession with 2D Mario has been. Like, outside of, ever since, like, aside from Super Mario Bros. World 1, Level 1, where they teach you how to play a video game, I don't think anything about 2D Mario has ever been particularly outstanding.
I mean, other than just pretty tight controls.
Yeah, like I mean, it's good.
It's classic.
Like, it's good. There's no doubt about that. It's every element of it is good. Level design is good. Character design is good. Controls are good. Everything about it
is flawless.
Good. Story is flawless. No, but everything about it is
tried
good.
True.
But like, nothing about it is like, this is amazing. This is best in class. And so as I'm playing through this game, I'm thinking, like, the only thing this game is making me think is that I just want to play Donkey Kong Country, because that's a side-scrolling platformer on the Super Nintendo that looks better, plays better, is better in pretty much every way.
I mean, it's also, some would argue, harder.
Donkey Kong?
I think so.
I would say so, yeah. Those games are fucking hard.
Like, they get to a point where, like, you have to know the level exactly with, like, these little specific jumps to miss every enemy and swing perfectly and get through every little area.
Yeah. And
that is why I never finished any of them, because they were too hard.
They're tough games, but I played Super Mario World this week. I was going to make a video about it, but I just didn't enjoy it, so I just stopped. And yeah, 2D Mario isn't, I don't think Mario was fantastic. I don't think Mario was truly excellent until Super Mario 64. So, but that takes us to the news in 5. I want everyone to know that these guys don't rehearse that at all. They just, I never know what's coming.
Usually it's just going off of what the other person starts with.
Somehow one of them follows the other every time. And they just, it's beauty. It's beautiful. News in 5 this week was pretty slow. More movie news, though. Allegedly, there is a live-action, first-generation Pokemon movie in the works. So...
No, just kidding.
I mean, okay. Is Nintendo getting ahead of themselves with these Pokemon movies?
I don't know. Maybe
Video
not.
game movies don't work. They just don't. We've been through this. Okay.
Wait for Detective Mario or Detective Pikachu to come out.
Detective Mario. See, I'd watch that like Sin City style, like super noir.
That would be like pretty cool. Actually,
He just blows some whore's head off in an alleyway, and then just in the darkness, you just hear him go, "Wahoo!"
You're pitching a movie I would watch. No, but I do agree with you, Ben. We do have to wait for Detective Pikachu, and like that movie looks pretty good so far, but I feel like the trailer was well received. The movie looks good. Even if the movie's great, that doesn't mean, let's just start sprinting with, more Pokemon movies.
Well, and is it the first generation? What if it's like that? It almost seems like it would be more conducive to a new TV show that would be on some sort of platform.
That feels like a Netflix series, honestly.
Yeah,
but
it could be a recreation of the cartoon first series.
Just recreate the anime live action.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, so do you guys think that this is going to be 2 movies? Will there be Pokemon movie red version and Pokemon movie blue version?
Or would they go with green like the Japanese?
And will there be a special edition in a year, yellow version?
Maybe because I think it's going to be a series. So I don't think maybe they'll call like some of the episodes blue, some of the episodes red, some of the episodes green, some of the episodes yellow.
That would be like a sepia tone.
I'm excited for Detective Pikachu, but I'm hesitant about this just because it feels like they're trying to do too much too fast. Like, get Detective Pikachu out. Let's see how it is. Let's see how it does, and then let's talk about more. That's my. Do you think that in Deadpool 3 he'll end up shooting Pikachu? Oh, they're gonna have to do something to refer to Pikachu. And Ryan Reynolds is going to be psyched about having Pikachu and Deadpool interact with each other because they're both his now. That's really the cameo I want to see in Deadpool 3 now. Thanks a lot, Ben. In other news, SNES on Switch.
Sweet.
In a recent update to the fucking app that you launched to get to the NES games, it was discovered that in the code there are SNES ROMs and an SNES emulator. Now, it's been a while since we've had a Nintendo Direct, and a lot of people are speculating that maybe in the next Direct, one of the big announcements is SNES.
Sweet.
I think that that's the first thing that would actually make having Nintendo Online worth money.
We played that one night, and when we play Switch or when we play Smash and don't care that it's really glitchy, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't play Smash when it's glitchy.
It's really hard. But
It needs to be buttery smooth.
You
Cart
basically
works.
need to not care.
Cart
Nope,
works.
Cart
do it.
works really well, but the thing is Cart we were
I'm
getting
playing
for
Super
free
Smash.
before.
Super
now you
Smash is a
can't.
certain caliber.
I don't know. I just feel like Nintendo pretending that bundling in a bunch of NES games with Nintendo Switch Online is some
Like makes
increased
it
value
good or something.
is like this has no value to me. This is from the last generation of video games before video games were actually good. And so I just have no interest in it. I would love to see Super Nintendo. And there are supposedly 2 more emulators. Yep, we're out of 5 minutes, but we got one more story to go on after this. But there are supposedly 2 more emulators that are unnamed in the code, and people are speculating maybe people are speculating N64 and Game Boy, and those would be great. I would love to be able to play Minish Cap on my Switch. Oh, that would be so badass.
Yep.
So, what games would you guys want to see come in the first batch of SNES games?
Duck Hunt.
Duck Hunt is NES.
Oh well.
Super Mario World.
Legend of Zelda.
Super Mario World. Legend of Zelda would be a good one. I would really want to play. I want to play Donkey
Excite
Kong
Bike.
Country 2. Excite Bike would be sweet. Pilot Wings on Super Nintendo was pretty cool.
What's that one where you drive the monster trucks?
I don't remember. Wasn't there a Rampage game on Super Nintendo?
Probably.
Animaniacs, that was a pretty cool game. I liked everything about the Animaniacs.
Yeah, Super Nintendo had some pretty good games.
Yeah. Secret of Mana.
So, now that we're already past 5 minutes, should we move on to the next story?
We're past 5 minutes. So, the Switch is actually selling faster than the PlayStation 4. In its first 21 months on the market, the Nintendo Switch has sold 22% faster than the PS4 did in the same time frame. Do you guys think with the additional potential for sales, because some people are buying multiple PS4s per household, but a lot more people are buying multiple Switches per household, do you guys think that the Nintendo Switch could potentially outsell the PS4?
Maybe. Just because, I could see, 2 kids both wanting their own Switch.
Exactly. That's the real potential there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out, because the Wii was one of the best-selling consoles of all time. The PS4 is well on its way to becoming one of the best-selling consoles of all time. And I mean, if the Switch is selling faster than the PS4 did, they just need to keep up that momentum, which is easier said than done. But I do want to get just some pie in the sky sales predictions for both. How many, at the end of the PS4's life, when they finally stop production, how many PS4s do you think Sony will have sold?
755 billion.
That's a lot. Andrew, you want to hit us with a more realistic goal? Guess?
4 billion. No, we'll go with a solid like 800,000.
800,000? Well, they've sold way more than 800,000.
See, look at that. Already realistic.
I was going to say 4 billion is much more realistic than 755 billion. You did appease me in that way. I think that the PS4 is probably going to top out around 120 or 130 million units sold, which is insane. That's a fuckload of PS4s. Early on in the PS4 lifetime, a lot of people were saying it was gonna outsell the PS2. I don't think that'll happen, but we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. What about the Switch? How many do you guys think are gonna sell for the Switch?
5.
Okay.
Solid number.
Okay. Andrew?
Let's go with 10. Now, how about 800,000?
800,000. All right. I think that maybe they're going to sell like 100 million. I don't think it'll outsell the PS4, but I think it's going to sell very well. But now that we're done with that, it's time for the topic of the show.
It's the topic of the show. Topic of the show.
That was like some new age 90s rap right there. That rap that you really don't understand, and it's like in that like elementary school don't smoke video. What I'm saying is that wasn't you guys' best.
No, that was probably our best, actually.
Okay. So we're going to be talking about some of the biggest missteps in gaming and just kind of our memories around them, why we think that they were missteps, and just sort of like, discussion. But we're going to start with what is arguably the best, arguably the biggest, which was the Red Ring of Death. Now,
the biggest of the blunders.
Yeah.
The reddest, certainly.
Andrew, did you have an Xbox 360?
No.
No.
What kind of a question is that?
Of course you didn't. So, Ben, I know you did, and you got a red ring a few times, right?
I think so, yes. I can't remember precisely how many.
I went through a bunch of Xbox 360s because of the red ring.
I think a lot of people did, sadly.
Yeah. So reports were that it affected up to 60% of them, of that first iteration of the Xbox 360. And the problem was that it wasn't ventilated properly, so everything would get too hot, and then the boards would warp and disconnect.
But Steven could wrap them in a towel and make it work somehow.
That's right. Well,
He knew the trick to cuddle them back into working.
I don't know how that worked, but I actually got that to work a few times too. You wrap it in a towel and you run it for like 20 or 30 minutes, and then you turn it off, and then you take it out, and then you leave it set for like an hour, and then you turn it back on and it works. And I got that to work a few times myself. But this was like, we started with the big one. This was the mother of all fuck-ups for video games. Actually, you know what? I think it's possibly the second biggest, and we'll get to the biggest last. But second biggest. It wound up... So they basically, before even telling Steve Ballmer about this, who was at the time, he was the CEO of Microsoft, the head of the Xbox team went and negotiated a deal with FedEx. And then he went to Steve Ballmer and he basically said, it's going to cost us $240 million to ship these things back to us and then ship them. Just in shipping, the deal with FedEx is going to cost us $240 million. And like Steve Ballmer said, do it. And that one decision was basically, are we going to let the Xbox die or not?
And now he owns the Clippers.
Steve Ballmer owns the Clippers?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So would you say he's moving up in the world? Because I don't think so.
It's a pretty valuable thing to own.
An NBA team.
Mm-hmm.
So I would agree. It's a pretty valuable thing to own, but I don't think that it's as valuable as being the CEO of Microsoft.
But that's what got him enough money to be able to buy that.
That's true. I didn't know he owned the Clippers. That's pretty interesting. So, I mean, the Red Ring of Death was pretty rough. I know that, like, the worst Red Ring of Death that I ever got, I knew this, there was this guy that owned this local game store. Ben, don't say his name, please, because he did me a favor in this situation, so I don't want to call him out by name. But there was this guy that owned this local game store that Ben and I used to go to all the time. And he was really nice, and we were his regulars. And so he would hook us up. He would like loan us games all the time just to play for the afternoon. And one time he sold me Barbie Island Adventure, and it was actually Halo 3, like a week and a half or 2 weeks before it came out. And so I had Halo 3 early. And I took it home and I put it in my Xbox and I started to play it. And there's like the opening cutscene, and Cortana is talking about why, like Cortana is narrating, talking about why she chose John. And she says, but you know what you had that no one else did? You know what it was? Luck. And as soon as she said luck, my Xbox shut down. And I had the Red Ring of Death.
Oh, God.
And I was just like, motherfucker. Because the turnaround time...
Why does God hate me?
Exactly. Because the turnaround time on that was like 6 to 8 weeks to get your Xbox. And it's like, I just got fucking Halo 3 early.
The one time I ever like really had... Or it wasn't even me. It was my brother's PS2. It got something wrong with the laser reader, and it couldn't read golden backed discs. And that was like literally the only issue we've ever seen come from PlayStation. Hashtag PlayStation. Hashtag for life.
Well, so the 360 had the Red Ring of Death, and like that was pretty widely spread, but the fallout of the Yellow Line of Death from the PS3 was not insignificant. There was a large number of PS3s, nowhere near as many as the 360, but there was a large number of PS3s that failed too. And it was called the Yellow Line of Death because you know how it had those, like, the original PS3 had those 3 status lines, like lights on the front, and they were just lines. There was a blue, a red, and a yellow, I think. And the yellow would...
I've never had an original.
Yeah, the original was fat and loud and ugly. The original was... The PS3 was kind of a mess. We're going to talk about that here in a few minutes, but the PS3 had the Yellow Line of Death, and it was significantly fewer than the 360, but that was a pretty big problem too. I mean, it didn't almost. It didn't.
My
almost
PlayStation
destroy.
currently has a yellow line on it.
Nice orange. Careful though, because if you unplug it, it'll yell at you.
Especially if you have an external hard drive.
Yeah, it goes, hey, you didn't turn me off correctly.
Yeah.
You have to turn me on again.
One time, Ben and I were leaving Ben's apartment, and Ben was like, I think he was having to take his PlayStation with him somewhere, and he was just like, oh, I don't want to turn it on to turn it all the way off, but also I don't want to get lectured when I turn it back on. And then he just...
Like, PlayStation yells at me.
Exactly.
Like...
And he wound up just unplugging it. And then the next morning, I just get a picture of the TV, and he's just, this motherfucker lecturing me again. Sony, fix that shit.
Don't worry,
that's
we've all
annoying.
been there.
I don't like it when my inanimate objects talk down on me.
At least after the first time, I would love it if it would just be like, hey, we know you've heard this before.
Don't do it again. And like, I don't like it when my...
You're only potentially fucking yourself.
It's true. It's like, I know what I'm fucking doing. All right? I know what I'm doing.
They should just be like more... They just need to be like nicer about it.
Yeah, they're really talking down to you. Like, it's extremely condescending.
Like, hey, don't do this again.
Especially when it's like, it wasn't my fault. Like, it was a power outage. I'm sorry. That happened.
It wasn't my fault. Oh, yeah.
Fuck you,
I've been there.
PS4. So, moving on. One of the other... What I would consider one of the biggest missteps in gaming history is the PS3 cell architecture. So, this isn't a video podcast, but if it was, you guys, all the listeners out there would be able to see that Ben and Andrew are drinking and very distracted by their phones.
Oh, you know.
So,
looking at memes.
Well... Focus up, bitches. So the PS3 was actually built around a proprietary cell architecture rather than any standard technology. And this proved to be a pretty major problem because the PS3 on paper was much more powerful than the Xbox 360, but it made most games actually, like multi-plat games, actually looked worse on the PS3 because this hardware was difficult to develop for. Andrew, you suck PlayStation's dick on the regular. Tell me about this cell architecture. Why'd they do it? What's from a fanboy's perspective? Why'd they do it? You have no good answer for me?
I really don't.
I've never heard of this before.
Yes. What is this cell architecture you speak of?
It's the processor in the PlayStation 3. And it's actually the reason that the PS4 is not backwards compatible, is because the actual architecture of the chipset is so radically different. And in the PS3, it was completely proprietary. It's almost like they were going out of their way to make it difficult to develop for their console.
I mean... During the time, they were probably feeling kind of elite. Who knows?
They were coming... Well, I mean, they were coming off...
Masturbatory,
yes. They were coming off the success of the PS2, though. So, you're definitely right.
I mean, never gave me an issue with my PlayStation.
Never take off your shoe unless you're in your house.
Well, Ben has a can in his hand and a can on his desk, so that explains that comment. But so Andrew, you say it never gave you an issue, but how do you feel about your super expensive PS3 with more powerful hardware playing games, like making games look worse than they did on the 360 on that inferior knuckle dragger machine?
Well, I didn't play shitty inferior games, so I don't know where you're coming from. No.
What about that memory leak in Skyrim?
The what?
Memory leak in Skyrim. So, Skyrim on the PS3 had a very infamous bug that was supposedly caused by the cell architecture, the fact that it was very difficult to develop for.
I feel like there should be quotations around infamous there.
Nah. It's very... a lot of people know about it. It's talked about.
It's
It's talked about.
in specific circles.
Yes. But basically it had a memory leak issue where the game was constantly trying to remember where everything was. So if you moved like this sweet roll or this wheel of cheese and then in like Whiterun and then you left and you went all the way across the map, the game was still trying to remember where that sweet roll was, to the point where eventually just remembering where all these stupid little items were, it would fill up all the RAM and the game would just crash.
The game would take like a really long time to load.
And then it would just crash. And it like after
I never really reached the point where my game crashed, but
you did experience it taking a lot of time to load. Because it's loading all that shit into the RAM. And it's like, why are you doing that?
Why are you doing that? I don't know. Well, Todd Howard's
if Bethesda had just been a better developer and developed their game to work properly on the cell structure.
Yeah.
That's a fair point though, Ben. That's, there's a lot of developers seemed to do all right on the PS3. It was a fairly popular console.
Yeah.
Something like 83 million units sold.
Yep.
It did the trick. I remember even in the beginning when it had a little flap you could flip up, have memory card slots.
Oh, yeah. The PS3 came with a fuck ton of I.O. when it first launched. It had like 6 USB ports.
Yeah, and then they slimmed it down quite a bit.
Then when the PS4 came out, they only put 2.
No, didn't the original PS4 have 3? There were 2 on the front and 1 on the back?
Nope. 2.
I mean, you are still rocking an original PS4, so you would know.
OG, baby.
Yeah, that's pretty stupid. But I not only did the cell architecture hurt them in that generation, but it's still hurting them because like I said, backwards compatibility is impossible because of that cell architecture.
But they just re-release all the games that they really care about on PS4.
So the customer had to pay for them again.
Yeah, but they did it and it worked and they made money. So
fuck you.
They're
I'm going
laughing
home
straight to the bank.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Because I bought a lot of games again.
Exactly.
A lot of games. Too many games. I bought too many games again.
Yes, but you have an addiction.
That's true. I do.
Unhealthy.
Yes. Don't judge me, bitch.
Oh, I'm judging.
All right, moving on. The Xbox One announcement was problematic for Microsoft. They talked a lot about DRM, and they talked about killing off physical games. They talked about TV. They talked about sports and cable integration. They talked about Connect 2. They talked about TV. It looked like a giant VCR. They talked about TV. They talked about resolutions, and they were targeting a 900p resolution on a lot of games that were going to be running at 1080 on the PS4, which immediately they were stumbling out the gate. And then when they were approached about the Always Connected, one of the executives said, well, we have a console. When someone asked, what about the people like soldiers that are deployed in say Iraq or something? And he said, well, we have a console for those players. It's called the Xbox 360. So it's just sort of like a dick move immediately. The Xbox One announcement sucked. And I would argue it was from that moment they've been playing catch up ever since.
And mustard.
Ketchup and mustard.
Ketchup and mustard.
Yes.
Riveting stuff.
Well, yeah. But no, it was that announcement that I think really laid out the path for this generation, because the PS4 has, effectively won the generation. They've sold more than twice as many PS4s as Microsoft has Xbox Ones, and it's all about that original. There's still people that are confused by that bullshit. And you know what they didn't talk about at that announcement was games. So,
Yeah. A bit of a bland announcement moment for them.
it was a problem.
Yes. They didn't do well with that.
But did it fall flatter than the Wii U?
Nope.
Nothing fell flatter than the Wii U.
Yeah, the Virtual Boy and the PS Vita did, but not many other. not much else.
I don't know, man. If you just had the Virtual Boy and you put it on your face and laid on a bed face down.
It worked perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's what I love to do, is lay face down on a piece of plastic on my bed.
Embrace, just embrace, like, how else would you, experience just
It's the
dying
first
inside?
VR.
Was it the first VR? It was definitely the first commercially available VR.
Mm-hmm.
So, you guys never owned a Wii U. What do you think could have changed the Wii U to make you want one?
Not having one.
Not making it sound like it's an expansion on the Wii.
That was their biggest problem, was marketing.
Yeah, it felt like it was like an accessory you'd buy to it.
Yeah.
Which would have been a smarter idea.
Yeah, that would have been like make a major accessory improvement to the whole thing. Like that I think the Wii was so wildly popular, just making a major accessory improvement and kind of riding out a few more years on the Wii instead of launching the Wii U to a very confused market that wasn't ready for a new Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
They were basically trying to make a console for people like us and continue to market it at the people that played the Wii, which was not us. I mean, we played our fair share of Wii, but like they were trying to market it at our moms.
Yeah.
But the problem with it was that you had to have the Wii running to play on the small screen too, which
Yeah,
or
so
the Wii. It just like it was they were trying to do the Switch thing, but they didn't have the Switch thing perfected.
it was definitely a stepping stone towards the Switch. And I mean, I really liked my Wii U. I played my Wii U a lot, but even if I hadn't enjoyed or played my Wii U that much, I still would have been grateful for it because like it was a necessary iteration for them to reach the Switch, and the Switch is fucking awesome.
Seriously.
Like,
It definitely is.
Andrew, you said that you haven't played your Switch in a minute, right? Have you picked it back
Little
up this
bit.
week?
I did play Smash actually with some people after dinner. Had some people over.
Smashed some
Had
girls.
Michael over for dinner, and then was like, "I'm gonna smash you." And
Nice.
then we smashed.
But
It
you
was
made
beautiful.
a dinner first, so
Yeah.
that's cool.
I wined and dined him before I fucked him.
Who did Mike
Who
play
won?
as?
Single games, free for all. It's all Drew, baby. But when I let him and my other roommate double team me, they won. They won by like I think I won one of those, but they defeated me.
All right.
I just think that
And
happens
penetrated you.
when you have little tiny controllers.
Yeah. And wrapping up our conversation on the biggest missteps in all of gaming is what I think is the biggest one is the Nintendo PlayStation. So originally Sony and Nintendo had partnered to make
Some god awful system.
a compact disc add-on for the Super Nintendo called the PlayStation. And
Sounds cool.
it sounds really cool. And you know what? It was, because it came out, and it was called the Sony PlayStation. And the PlayStation was awesome. But no, Nintendo and Sony had partnered to make the PlayStation, a Super Nintendo add-on, and then Nintendo kind of welched on the deal, backed out, bailed last minute, and went with Philips, who wound up making the CDI, and that didn't really pan out that well for Nintendo or Philips. But Nintendo went with them because they were able to make it cheap. Well, Sony apparently took some offense to this and wound up taking what they had learned while developing the PlayStation with Nintendo, and they made their own console. And Nintendo basically created their biggest nemesis.
Yeah. Well, nemesis in terms of just the industry, but I think PlayStation and Nintendo are almost just like separate tiers, you know? I can't remember where I read this, so forgive me, it might be bullshit, but I think Nintendo is a bigger company than all of Sony.
I don't believe that.
But I would need to look that up. I'll look that up this week, and I will come back next week with information. But
that wraps it up.
pretty rough one. But that does wrap it up with the biggest missteps in gaming. I want to know what you guys are going to be playing this week. Andrew, what do you have planned?
Probably RE2.
Well, that's more. You wouldn't have said that if I hadn't.
Well, otherwise I probably would have been playing The Forest.
All right.
You're a hooker. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Ben's had a few too many beers. Ben, what are you going to be playing this week?
Nothing. I refuse to play video games.
All right.
I shall not conform.
All right. I'm going to be playing Resident Evil 2, and I might play like some Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, maybe.
Well, I'll probably play Resident Evil 2 too.
I'm just mad that Andrew said it first.
Exactly, but I'm playing Resident Evil 2 too.
Oh, 2-2.
Oh, 22?
Is that the
I
one
didn't know
with
they had
the ballerina?
Exactly.
So, did you guys see that Tofu is back in this game?
Who's Tofu?
Like eating tofu?
No, so if you beat the game, like there's like certain completion criteria, but if you fulfill this criteria, you can actually play the entire game as a giant block of tofu.
I'm into it.
Sounds weird. I would rather get the polygon like old.
Well, tofu was in the original Resident Evil 2.
Well, I never got him, so why would I want to be a giant piece of tofu?
Fuck that.
I'd rather have a gun with unlimited ammo.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to be a giant piece of tofu?
I kind of want to be a giant piece of tofu.
Do you have to do like the classic thing, like beat the game in 4 hours or something?
Yeah, something like it's tough. But then it's like when you play as tofu, it's like ultra hard mode or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
God damn.
But thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, you should subscribe on whichever platform you found us on. Now, don't forget to check out our movies podcast, No Refunds, the podcast that watches bad movies so you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can see everything we do all in one spot over at coldnorthpro.com.
Such a great website.
And we'll be back next week talking about launch titles. Reset.
Titles that launch. Reset the button. You cannot start unless you reset.
Andrew is squeezing out a dump.
You know me. Squeezing out my poos. I gotta go figure out some dinner because I'm ravenously hungry.
You're squirtlessly hungry?